Israeli forces have intercepted almost all of about 40 boats of the global Summit Flotilla heading towards Gaza, although one vessel continues to sail strong. The Bolivarian National Armed Forces of Venezuela denounced on Thursday the presence of U.S. fighter jets near the country's coastline. And the Argentinian Senate overturned on Thursday Javier Milei's vetoes on bills boosting funding for public universities and leading pediatric health care center. Hello and welcome to From the South. My name is Belén de los Santos, and from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba, we begin with the news. And we begin with the information. We were saying it at the beginning. The Israeli forces have intercepted almost all of the vessels that made up the global Summit Flotilla heading towards Gaza with humanitarian aid, although one of the vessels continued to sail strong. According to the organizers of the flotilla, most of its vessels were intercepted or assumed intercepted after communications with those on board was lost by Thursday morning in an Israeli operation that began the night before. They have also informed that 450 volunteers had been detained by the Zionist regime, and one boat, the Marinette, was still sailing strong about 80 nautical miles from Gaza and about 10 nautical miles from where Israel began intercepting the other boats of the flotilla. And precisely in this context, the flotilla members have accused Israel of committing a war crime and called for international mobilization. In an official statement, the flotilla has urged governments and international organizations to intervene and ensure the safety of the detained crew members, demanding their immediate release. Flotilla organizers explained that the Israel Defense Forces formed a chain in waters where they have no jurisdiction, further highlighting the illegal blockade imposed on the Gaza Strip. Furthermore, members informed that Zionist forces attacked unarmed civilians using water cannons, skunk water, and systematically blocking ship communications. And in this scenario, the climate activist Greta Thunberg, who was on board of one of the vessels, left a video recorded asserting that she had been kidnapped by the Israeli forces. Let's listen.
My name is Greta Thunberg. I'm a citizen of Sweden. If you are watching this video, I have been abducted and taken against my will by Israeli forces. Our humanitarian mission was non-violent and abiding by international law. Please tell my government to demand my and the others' immediate release.
And also in this context, police forces in Europe on Thursday cracked down on demonstrations that were expressing their support for the Palestinian population and also for the global Summit Flotilla. In several cities in Spain, police forces have repressed thousands of students participating in strikes in solidarity with the flotilla, which was intercepted by Israeli forces, as we had said, while on its way to the Gaza Strip to bring humanitarian aid. Also, police forces in Italy repressed demonstrations in favor of the Palestinian cause with tear gas bombs, and trade unions have called for a national strike tomorrow, October 3rd, in rejection of the Israeli genocide. And international repercussions continue. In this case, Alba TCP expressed its rejection of the illegal aggression against the global Summit Flotilla. The communique starts by saying that the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America and People Trade Treaty, Alba TCP, categorically condemns the criminal aggression perpetrated by the Israeli occupation forces against the global Summit Flotilla in international waters in an act that constitutes state terrorism, modern piracy, and a flagrant violation of international law. The statement refers that the Zionist regime has once again exhibited its criminal nature, using harassment maneuvers, water cannons, and drones to cut off communications, and they illegally intercepted and detained the crew of a peaceful civilian expedition whose sole purpose was to break the genocidal blockade imposed on the Gaza Strip and bring humanitarian assistance to a people suffocated by hunger, disease, and military siege. It also finished by stating that, in this sense, we make a call on the international community to denounce this aggression and demand the immediate release of the crew members of the flotilla. It also reiterates its unwavering solidarity with the heroic Palestinian people, with the victims of this inhumane siege, with every mother, every child, every family, and with the members of the flotilla who have put their lives at risk to carry out this noble endeavor for a free, sovereign, and independent Palestine. And the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, also pronounced herself and requested the repatriation of the nationals that were detained in their way to Gaza.
Sí, por supuesto, que los dejen llegar a Gaza.
Yes, of course they should be allowed to reach Gaza, but they have already been intercepted, detained, then they have to be repatriated immediately, and obviously, we do not agree with what the State of Israel did, and humanitarian aid has to reach Gaza.
Precisely on this topic, the president stated that already 2 diplomatic notes had been sent on this request.
They are detained at the port. They haven't been taken to a detention center yet. Yesterday we sent 2 diplomatic notes demanding their immediate release. There is no reason for them to be detained. They have not committed any crime. And we demanded that they be handed over to the Mexican authorities for their repatriation. Also that humanitarian aid be allowed in, and that this harassment against Gaza stop.
And now we have a short break coming up, but first, remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. We continue with more information. In Venezuela, the National Armed Forces announced on Thursday the presence of U.S. fighter jets near the country's coastline. The complaint was made by the Minister of Defense, Vladimir Padrino Lopez, during an evaluation of the ongoing military drills aimed at the security and defense of the nation. Padrino Lopez said that the aircraft were detected by the integrated defense system within the Maiquetía flight information region. The incident adds to the recent tensions in the region and the Venezuelan military high command's concern about the external military threat and the presence of ships in Caribbean waters.
I have seen, we have detected, the integrated air defense system of Venezuela, here within the Maiquetía region, of the Maiquetía flight information region, more than 5 vectors, we have detected them. 5 vectors with flight characteristics of 400 knots, and flying at an altitude of 35,000 feet. What does that indicate, dear people of Venezuela? They are fighter aircraft, fighter aircraft. The North American imperialism has dared to approach the Venezuelan coasts. And this was even checked and verified by information that an international airline gave here to the Maiquetía control tower. The airline also reported that it had seen the presence of fighter aircraft.
And precisely in this context, the Minister of Defense, Vladimir Lopez, stated that Venezuela continues to be in permanent surveillance in this context.
Ofensiva permanente.
Permanent offensive, always taking the initiative, without losing sight of it. If the initiative is lost, the offensive is lost, and if the offensive is lost, we go on the defensive. In other words, we are not assuming a defensive position here, but rather a patriotic stance moving, always forward, every day, with consistent strategies to defend our beloved homeland, especially in these circumstances when the U.S. empire rises up there and deploys its warships and aircraft in the Caribbean Sea.
And we continue in Venezuela because according to a recent survey, 94% of the population rejects the United States military aggression against the country and demands respect to its sovereignty. The Data Viva polling agency revealed that Venezuelans have a broad consensus in defending sovereignty and seeking solutions through dialogue. In addition, the study indicates that 88% of the respondents agree with the letter sent by President Nicolás Maduro to the United States government, proposing a dialogue based on mutual respect. The polls also confirmed a clear trend towards national unity, the rejection of foreign interference, and strengthening of domestic mechanisms for protecting sovereignty. And the Venezuelan Foreign Ministry is holding a conference in Caracas from October 2nd to the 3rd to analyze imperial colonization. The ministry announced that the event will address new forms of domination and colonization processes, the international conference, colonialism, neocolonialism, and the territorial dispossession of Western imperialism, brings together the authorities and experts in the study of imperial colonization in Caracas. The meeting seeks to highlight the need to compensate the peoples who were victims and also offer an in-depth and decolonization look at an outstanding debt and a wound that remains open. And also, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela denounced through a statement the illegal incursion of U.S. combat aircraft near the coast of the country. The statement reads that the Ministries of Popular Power for Defense and Foreign Affairs of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela strongly denounce and reject the illegal incursion of United States combat aircraft detected on October 2nd of this year, approximately 75 kilometers from our coastline, within the Maiktia flight information region. It continues by saying that this action seriously jeopardized the operational safety of civil and commercial aviation in the Caribbean Sea. The incident was also spotted by the Colombian airline Avianca, adding to the official detection by CODAI. This serious report adds to other similar illegal incursions previously recorded and already denounced by the Bolivarian government, which constitutes a pattern of harassment that cannot be tolerated. It concludes by saying that Venezuela reiterates that it will not accept intimidation or aggression from any foreign power and that it will fully exercise its right to defend its national sovereignty in accordance with international law. The Bolivarian National Armed Forces will remain on permanent alert with its integrated airspace defense system. And Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro affirmed during a working session with the agricultural communes that the majority of Venezuelans is rejecting this U.S. attempts of intervention in the region. In this context, Maduro called for the unity of the people against the U.S. threats and aggression made by U.S. imperialism against the integrity and sovereignty of Venezuela. The president also announced that this Saturday, October 4th, a special organizational exercise will be held aimed at strengthening the command, leadership, and communication of the entire professional structure of the Bolivarian National Armed Forces and the Bolivarian National Militia. On the other hand, the president congratulated people's efforts to consolidate the new economic model.
Yanez showed me an international survey conducted in Venezuela between September 29th and 30 that shows that 94% of Venezuelans are against any type of threat or aggression by the U.S. empire against the integrity and peace of Venezuela. Naguar, I would say, it has no translation into English. Naguar. It's the greatest consensus ever achieved in the political history of Venezuela, 94%. And the other 6% poses a great concern. I'm not going to judge them because these are people who believe that a harm done to Venezuela would be good for their families, and it's been demonstrated that no harm done by imperialism in the world has proven to be good for any family.
And also in this regard, the president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, discussed the early start of Christmas in the country.
Some people wrote to me from around the world. Maduro, how come Christmas starts on October 1st in Venezuela? Do you know why it starts on October 1st? Because yes, because we like to be happy, because we invoke the child Jesus, our Lord Jesus Christ, to bring his blessings. We like to be together, we like to party, we like to dance, sing, we like to make halakas, and because, if happiness can be summoned and invoked much earlier, we will always do so. It is Venezuela's vaccine to bring Christmas forward. So much hatred, so much revenge, so much fascism that prevails in the world. In the face of hatred and fascism, Christmas arrived in Venezuela with the baby Jesus, to dance, party, and make halakas, the whole family together, the communities united. Congratulations, very beautiful images.
And now we have a second short break coming up, but before, we invite you to join us on our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate notifications to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. We continue with more information. In Argentina, the Senate overturned the two vetoes by President Javier Milei, one destined to funding the public universities and the other one for a leading pediatric healthcare center. During the day fraught with political tension, the Senate once again set limits on the executive by rejecting the presidential veto on the so-called Garahan law with 59 votes in favor and 7 against, and that on the university's funding law with 58 votes in favor and 3 against. In this way, the Senate rulings represent a setback for the libertarian leader ahead of key legislative elections. The Argentinian president had justified both vetoes that went against the funding of this institution by saying that the new spending would jeopardize the national fiscal balance. In September, Argentina's Congress had already overturned for the first time a presidential veto, reinstating a bill that increased spending for people with disabilities. And precisely in this context, in Argentina, the people gathered outside the Congress to demonstrate in face of the voting that was happening in the Senate chamber and express their support to the idea of overturning the presidential vetoes of Javier Milei. In this way, sectors, social organizations from the education sector, also from the sector of the Garahan Hospital, expressed their support in the streets of Argentina and welcomed the rejection that was fostered by the Senate, overruling yet another 2 presidential vetoes. And we go now to other topics. The U.S. federal government has hit its second day of shutdown, with presidential Donald Trump threatening to apply sweeping cuts and layoffs. More information on this with our correspondent, Jorge Gestoso.
Thank you. This afternoon, President Trump said that this shutdown gives the government of the U.S. and, his words, an unprecedented opportunity to trim the federal government, because today he was meeting with the director of the budget to work out details of layoffs. We are talking, or they announced, are going to be at least thousands of layoffs of the federal workers. And the Senator Ted Cruz was mentioning that he was absolutely fantastic, he said, that measure, because he said that they could get rid of, what he say, leftist bureaucrats that are against the policies of President Trump. So that will give you a big chance to get rid of all that. And also, it has announced that they are entertaining the idea to close partially or definitely certain agencies and certain programs that, according to President Trump, favors the Democrats. Tomorrow, we're talking Friday, they're going to come back to Washington. Today was a holiday, a Jewish holiday. They're going to come back to Washington. The senators are going to continue to discuss to see if they can break this impasse. And another thing that we have learned today is that there is a memorandum, there is a leak of a memorandum that supposedly in the memorandum, and I read, the government of President Trump declares the cartels in the Caribbean, what it says is an unlawful combatants. And given the fact that they put them in that category, they say that the US considers that that creates, they are in an armed conflict known international with them. So it hasn't been confirmed, the existence of that memorandum. It doesn't explain, according to that leak, who could be included in the cartels of the drug trafficking, and no other details. But the leak is that, again, the US government could be declaring illegal combatants the narco-traffic cartels, and therefore they decide that they are in a conflict, an armed conflict with non-international with them. We'll get back to you now.
Thank you, Jorge, so much for your report and information. And with this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, my name is Belén de los Santos. Thank you for watching.